So I recently started playing the Avatar Frontiers of Pandora game made by Ubisoft of all people. Um, Never been a huge Avatar fan, to be completely honest, but figured I'd give it a go. And I'm about 6 hours in, and it's actually not a bad game. Ubisoft made a not bad game, which is crazy to say in 2026 because we've seen how their track record has been the last couple of years. I'm only 6 hours in, so obviously I'm not super big into the story or anything like that. I've mainly done the introductory bits and been exploring, essentially, as all I've been doing is wandering around. And I've got to say, first and foremost, this is one of the prettiest games I've played in a while. It just looks fantastic. The graphics are really, really good. Pandora looks absolutely fantastic. The colours, the vibrancy, just the world in general is just it's incredibly pretty. So there's already great stuff there. It's really fun to explore. Get lost, jump up trees, and just explore this unknown world, really. Gameplay-wise, pretty decent as well. Reminds me a lot, if any of you have ever played Far Cry Primal, it's very much like that, bows, but also a mix of guns as well. Obviously, Far Cry Primal didn't have guns, obviously, but it's very much, definitely you can feel some of the Far Cry kind of roots coming through. There's definitely some Far Cry DNA in this game, and while it's not just a reskinned Far Cry, I feel like that's unfair to say about this game, because it isn't, but it's definitely got some Far Cry DNA in there, open world, like optional stuff to do in the world, outposts, etc. So while it's not just a blue person reskin, I guess, of Far Cry, there are it's fair to say there's definitely some DNA there from the Far Cry, games. Like I said, I'm not hugely into the story. I've got about 6 hours in the game, and I barely finished the tutorial and then immediately just ignored the main story and started wandering around, exploring, getting, hunting, crafting, gathering, etc. The game's quite in depth. You've got a full-on hunting system, much like Far Cry games. You've got a hunter's guide on where to find animals and things like that. It does matter whether you do merciful kills and clean kills. That improves the quality of the items you get from said animals. Gathering as well, so gathering crafting items like fruits and things like that to cook. It's not just as simple as hold X. Depending on the weather, you can get better kind of rarity of those crafting materials, and also how you gather them as well. There's like a gathering mini game for each thing, and after a while, depending on what it is you're gathering, you'll learn the best way to gather it, and that ensures it's like what the game calls pristine, which means it's a slightly better condition, which again is good because it means you can craft better things. So it's a lot more in depth than just go up and hold X and everything and just grab everything. Obviously certain things are like that, like healing things and like branches to make arrows, because you need so many of them. But for the more like precise things that you use for crafting and cooking, they've all got their own unique crafting minigame. Now, like I said, I'm only 6 hours into the game. Obviously, that means I haven't fully explored Pandora and I've barely scratched the surface. But the game is very, very cool, very, very pretty. It's very fun to just run around, explore, get lost, and just find things to do. There's also a pollution mechanic, so if you find RDA outposts and installations, they pollute the area around them, meaning you cannot gather things because they're polluted. Obviously, your objective is to destroy those installations and outposts, therefore getting rid of the pollution, because Pandora is strong, and it just heals immediately, therefore meaning you can then hunt and gather in those areas again, and also obviously bring the pollution down on the planet, which is good for the overall story and the main faction you support being the Resistance. Now, like I said, I'm not massively into the story. I'm not a massive Avatar fan in general. I watched the first movie like a long time ago, and I don't really remember the ins and outs, to be honest. So don't really ask me anything about that. I don't know. But overall, gameplay is really, really solid. It's very much hit and run. You can't just like stand in a firefight and just take the hits. You will get decimated. But thematically, I think that makes sense, because obviously the RDA are human, obviously come from Earth. They've got these mech suits, they've got fully automatic weapons, bullets, rocket launchers. They're very, very equipped for war. Whereas the Na'vi are very much not equipped for war because they're not made for this. So bows, arrows, traps, etc. So while by all means you can 1v1 in a fight with mechs and stuff like that, and amps. As long as you've got healing supplies, you'll burn through them very, very quickly. Whereas the game seems to focus more on like shoot 1 or 2 targets. If you get detected, move to another location, shoot again, move, and you constantly hit, run. Obviously, stealth is your biggest friend. If you don't get detected at all, and you can whittle the numbers down, more the better for you. But if you can't, then staying in one place too long is just death, because you will just get swarmed by RDA and they will just put you down very, very quickly. Especially because of the way the healing works in this game. At the beginning, bare minimum, you can carry 2 healing pods. I can't remember what they're called, but that's it. Your overall healing comes from energy underneath your health, which you have to eat food to keep up. Otherwise, you just stop healing naturally. So you've got to keep on top of that constantly as well, which emphasizes hunting for, like, obviously, meats and gathering for fruits, etc. Which then has a whole cooking mechanic. You've discovered different dishes. Like I said, it's really unfair to say this game is just a blue person reskin of a Far Cry game, because there's so many more things at play. You've got cooking, you've got your stereotypical hunting and gathering, which is atypical of Far Cry games, or it is, stereotypical rather of Far Cry games. You've got your outposts and installations, again, very similar to Far Cry, but then you've got the cooking, which is not something we really have in Far Cry at all. The most we have really was like crafting, in the boosts that you could get in Far Cry 3 and stuff like that for like speed, stamina, etc. You obviously, at one point or another in the game, you get your own Ikran, so you can fly around. I'm not at that point yet, but I do know that that's in the game. So obviously that's like your personal mount, obviously, because no vehicles as far as I know. So again, it's a really good game. The only reason I got it is because my partner Alex, for those of you who don't know, it's my girlfriend. I've mentioned her in a few videos here and there. Wanted to get it, and we saw that it was co-op. We've yet to play it together because we have to unlock co-op, which takes like 5 hours of playing. But we're both thoroughly enjoying it. I only got it on her recommendation because she does like Avatar, and she went to see the most recent film that came out, so she is like into it a lot more than me. I got it because I was like, you know what, I fancy something open world, because we're currently doing Dying Light 2. I was like, we could get this to have something to bounce back and forth so we don't burn out on Dying Light 2 on its own. And she was like, yeah, that's a cool idea. So we both got the £30 version, which has like the newest DLC included, and I was like, yeah, that's not bad, 30 quid, and I get the newest stuff as well, so I can play that after we finish the game. Cool. And it's just really, really good. I probably wouldn't have picked it up, to be honest, if it wasn't for her recommendation. And I would have just left it there. But honestly, like, it's really, really good. And obviously the biggest news of it is obviously there's a third-person mode as well, which wasn't in the game originally, apparently. I've been playing it in first person, personally. That's just what I prefer. It feels natural to me as someone who played Far Cry 3, Primal 4, Far Cry 2. It just feels normal to me to play in first person with these games. It doesn't faze me at all. I've played around with the third person a little bit. I don't dislike it. I just prefer first person. It just feels more natural to me, and that's how I like to play. But I know a lot of people believe that this game should have been third person from the get-go, and it's brought a lot of people in from what I've seen. And a lot of people are kind of in the same boat as me, where they're like, they never really gave this game a second look, and now all of a sudden they've played it, and they're like, oh, well, actually, hang on a minute, this is actually really, really fun. So I would say if you haven't played it, give it a go, especially because I read some news earlier today. I don't know how recent this is, but apparently the studio that helped make this, because obviously it's not just Ubisoft, but apparently there's been a bunch of layoffs as well, which sucks. So it'd be really cool to, like, if you've been thinking about getting this game, maybe check it out, especially because a bunch of the devs just lost their jobs as well. And it's, I'm only 6 hours in, so I'm very early game, and I've enjoyed every hour of it so far. There's a little bit there's a little bit too much exposition at the beginning of the game, but after you get past that, it's really enjoyable so far. Like I said, I can't say too much on the story just because I'm not, like I said, I'm 6 hours in. I don't know what happens. But I wanted to make a video on it because I'm playing it. It's fresh in my mind. I'm going to go play it again now after making this video. So I wanted to make a video on something that was fresh in my head that I literally have played within the last 24 hours. And I knew exactly what the experience was because it's still fresh in my mind. But that's my video on Avatar. It's not really an in-depth review because I can't really review it because I've, like I said, played 6 hours. It's more so first impressions. But I would definitely say if you've been like looking at this game and I'm in an hour in, give it a go. It's actually a lot more fun than it, that you might think. And it's definitely not just a reskin of a Far Cry game. It's really unfair to say that. It's a lot more. But like I said, that's my video on Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. Maybe I will do like a full in-depth review once I've, finished the game or near enough. But if you enjoyed the video, leave a like, obviously subscribe. I do videos like this every single Friday, so drop a sub if you like this kind of content. It really helps me out. Drop a comment, let me know if you've played the game and what you think, if you're new to it, or if you've played it since day one and you're happy to see more people picking it up. And let me know in the comments as well if you enjoyed this video. This is another unscripted one, so I've not written a script for this. I've just gone in with my thoughts and just gone for it. So again, let me know if you prefer this type of video rather than scripted, and I'll stick with these going forward. Much love as always, guys. I've got to go and make something to eat now because I literally just got in from work and immediately recorded this video. So much love, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye for now.